Have you ever felt that strange chill when everyone around you keeps saying the dollar will always be strong, but deep down, something doesn't feel right? That quiet voice in your head whispers, what if it's not? Imagine waking up one morning, opening your phone and seeing headlines that shake the world. Dollar down 40% overnight. Your savings? Worth less. Your rent? Doubled. And suddenly, the money you thought was unshakable starts to vanish like sand slipping between your fingers. Sounds impossible, right? That's what millions believed before every currency collapse in history. Now, here's where things get claw deep. Because if you think this is just about politics or conspiracy theories, you're wrong, whiskers deep wrong. What's coming isn't a movie plot. It's the kind of slow, quiet crumble that happens while everyone's distracted watching cat videos. Except this time, the cat talking to you is the one trying to save your wallet. Yeah, I'm Lupe, the cat who doesn't chase mice. I chase truth, sardines, and smart investments. And today, I'm scratching the surface of a question most humans are too afraid to ask. What if the dollar, the very thing you trust, isn't as safe as you think? Stay with me, human, because by the end of this video, you'll see the cracks beneath the golden mask and understand not just why the dollar might fall, but how you can rise when it does.
Humans love to believe in forever, don't they? Every empire, every great power, every shiny coin once thought it would rule the world forever. The Romans had their gold, the British had their pound, and now humans worship the dollar like it's untouchable. But here's the thing, whiskers twitching, every forever in history has an expiration date. And the funny part? It never announces its end with fireworks. It just slips away while everyone's too busy scrolling through memes and following get-rich-quick gurus. I've seen it before. Well, maybe not me personally, but cats remember things humans forget. One moment, the streets are filled with confidence and coffee-fueled traders shouting about stability. The next, panic spreads faster than a laser pointer across the floor. The truth is simple. No empire falls because of one bad day. It falls because everyone thought it couldn't. That's the trap humans fall into again and again. Believing safety lives in the same paper that's quietly losing value while you sleep. But don't puff your tail just yet, because I, Lupe, the cat who turned curiosity into a portfolio, am here to show you exactly what's clawing at the foundations of the almighty dollar right now. I'll show you why it matters, even if you've only got a handful of cents in your pocket, and how you, yes you, with the empty wallet and a head full of dreams, can still come out on top when the game changes. Because when currencies collapse, fortunes are made by those who understand the game.
Eddie thought he was safe. He thought the dollar was eternal, the one thing in life that would never crumble. To him, it wasn't just money. It was security, stability, the invisible net under every dream. Like most humans, he believed the dollar was backed by something solid, something real. But as he'd soon find out, it was backed by something far more fragile: faith. At first, the cracks were small, harmless even. A few higher prices at the grocery store, a rent bill that seemed to grow like a weed, a paycheck that somehow didn't stretch as far as last year. Eddie shrugged it off. Inflation happens, he said. The dollar always bounces back. But then came the headlines he couldn't ignore. Nations quietly selling their dollar reserves. Central banks hoarding gold like squirrels before winter. New digital currencies rising like strange new constellations in the global sky. The whispers turned into questions, and the questions into doubt. That's when I padded in, tail high, whiskers sharp. You humans, I told him, you trust the dollar like a kitten trusts its tail, certain it'll always be there, wagging and loyal. But even the strongest cat can fall if it stops watching the rats. And oh, there are plenty of rats in this game. Debt rats, greed rats, printing press rats, all nibbling away at the foundations of that green paper fortress. The more the world prints, borrows, and spends without restraint, the more that fortress trembles. Eddie looked at me, eyes wide, still trying to process it all. So, the dollar could really fall? He asked. I gave him the kind of look only a cat can give. Calm, amused, and just a little pitying. It's not about if, my friend. It's about when. Because the dollar isn't a mountain, it's a belief. And once belief cracks, even an empire can collapse faster than you can blink. The truth clawed at him, and maybe at you too. The dollar isn't invincible. It's a castle built on confidence. And the moment that confidence fades, the walls begin to shake.
All right, Eddie, I purred, flicking my tail like a pointer. Welcome to the Dollar Kingdom, the land where paper rules, rats multiply, and every sardine dreams of becoming gold. Eddie blinked, unsure if he'd stepped into a nightmare or a comedy sketch. What is this place? He stammered. This, I said, is the empire that runs your world, and today you're going to see how its walls are starting to crack. The first stop was Debt Mountain, a massive, wobbling pile of sardine cans stacked higher than the clouds. Each can was labeled debt. Government loans, stimulus checks, interest payments, layer after layer of borrowed promises. The air smelled of oil and panic. Every time the kingdom runs out of real fish, I explained, they just print more cans. Shiny new sardines for everyone. But here's the catch. They're not backed by real fish, only by faith that the next cat will still believe they're tasty. Eddie stared as the tower trembled. So, inflation? He whispered. Exactly, I said, licking my paw. Too many fake sardines chasing too few real ones. That's how the feast becomes famine. We walked on, or rather he stumbled while I strutted, until we reached a dark harbor. Ships were leaving, one after another, flags of every color fluttering in the salty wind. This, I said, is the foreign exodus. For decades, the Dollar Kingdom ruled the seas. Every trade, every deal, every treasure chest, all in dollars. But lately, the world's starting to whisper, maybe we don't need this paper fish anymore. Eddie watched as crates of gold and barrels of digital coins were loaded onto ships bound for distant lands. They're not rebelling, they're just hedging. When you sense the tide turning, you don't argue with the ocean, you build a raft. And then the strangest sight of all, a glowing bazaar of circuits and light. No coins, no bills, no sardines, just code. I smiled. Welcome to the digital revolution. These new currencies don't need kings or banks. They run on trust, transparency, and technology. 3 things the old empire's been allergic to. Eddie frowned, trying to take it all in. So, is this the end of the dollar? I tilted my head. Maybe. Or maybe it's just evolution. When one kind of fish disappears, another fills the sea. Eddie looked overwhelmed, his mind swimming with rats, sardines, and glowing coins. So, what should I do? He finally asked. I grinned, showing a flash of teeth. Understand this. Collapse isn't chaos. It's opportunity. When one currency loses power, wealth doesn't vanish, it moves. The question is, will you be the cat who chases it, or the one who catches it? Because, dear viewer, the fall of the dollar isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of a new one, written by those who understand the game before it changes.
Eddie froze, staring at the crumbling dollar kingdom, panic creeping into his whiskers. "So, it's all over?" he asked, voice trembling. I shook my head, tail flicking slowly. "No, Eddie. That's the thing most humans never understand. The danger isn't that the dollar falls. The danger is doing nothing while it falls. Every collapse isn't an apocalypse, it's a transfer. Wealth doesn't vanish, it just changes hands." His ears perked up. "Changes hands?" he repeated, confused. I circled him, sleek and patient, like a cat inspecting a mouse hole. "Yes. When one empire wobbles, those who act wisely grab what others lose. That's how fortunes are made. Not by luck, not by panic, by thinking like a cat. Calm, observant, patient." I paused, letting the idea sink in. You see, there are 3 things you can do to survive the storm and thrive. Diversify your treasures, invest in real, tangible assets that won't disappear overnight, and above all, watch the world carefully before you pounce. Eddie's eyes widened as the pieces clicked. The fear that had been weighing on him turned into a spark of determination. He saw the rats scrambling, the humans panicking, and for the first time, he felt a strange calm. "So, it's not too late?" he whispered. "Not for the prepared," I purred, flicking a claw toward the chaos. "You can't stop the storm, Eddie. The winds will howl and the waves will crash, but you can build your shelter before it hits. A little structure, a little strategy, and a lot of patience. That's how the smart cats survive." I watched him nod, finally understanding. It wasn't about fear. It wasn't about the dollar itself. It was about action, timing, patience, and a quiet confidence that comes from knowing the tides can be read if only you pay attention. And with that, Eddie, once overwhelmed and frozen, finally felt the first flicker of empowerment. The storm would come, but he would be ready.
Eddie looked at the chaos around him, the dollar kingdom shaking, rats scurrying, humans panicking, and a strange sense of clarity washed over him. I padded closer, tail high, eyes glinting in golden shades. "Remember this, Eddie. The dollar might fall, the markets might roar, but your financial freedom doesn't have to crumble with them. Wealth isn't about luck, it's about preparation, patience, and knowing where to place your paws." I flicked my tail toward the horizon where new opportunities glimmered like distant fish in a sunlit stream. "When the world panics," I said, voice calm and playful, "the smart cats prepare. They build, they watch, and they act with purpose, not fear." Eddie nodded, understanding at last that survival and growth aren't about chasing every shiny trend. It's about creating a fortress, small, deliberate, unshakable. So here's your lesson, human friends. Stop chasing trends. Start building your fortress, one sardine at a time. Each choice, each tiny step adds up. Each moment of patience is a brick in the wall between you and chaos. And if you let curiosity guide you, fortune has a way of favoring the clever, the observant, the prepared. Like, subscribe, and remember, fortune favors the curious cat. Keep your eyes open, your paws ready, and your mind sharp, because the next wave is coming, and the ones who thrive won't be the loudest or the fastest. They'll be the smartest cats in the kingdom.